محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. قد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكرى وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كما أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها هبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مركدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون لو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يأكلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. اللهم صل على الفاتحة. أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات.
أحسنت، تقبل الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. All together. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله. يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله. يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. All together يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله. يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. All together يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله. يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوصلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. Request your حاجات at the moment. اسألوا حوائجكم تقضى إن شاء الله. يا الله اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين. اللهم صل اللهم حقق يا رسول الله ومحمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. يا سادتي وموالياه إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوصلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين آمين رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.
صلو علی النبی. بانو کہاں تلاش کرے اپنے لال کو، جنگل میں مار ڈالا ہے زہرا کے آل کو، بانو کہاں تلاش. زینب کے ساتھ روتی ہے سب مل کے بیویاں، جب دیکھتی تھی روز وہ وقت زوال کو، بانو کہاں تلاش. شبیر دل کو تھام کے غش کھا کے گر پڑے، دیکھا جو خون میں غرق نبی کے جمال کو، بانو کہاں تلاش. شبیر میرے پاس ہے صدقے کو بس یہی، جھولے سے لا کے دے دیا بانو نے لال کو، بانو کہاں تلاش. شبیر لا رہے ہیں میدان سے دیکھیے اپنے ضعیف کاندھوں پہ 18 سال کو بانو کہاں تلاش. بازار شام میں وہ اسیروں کا قافلہ عابد نہ بھول پائے کبھی اس خیال کو بانو کہاں تلاش. لیلا دعائیں کرتی رہی بعد کربلا یا رب جدا نہ کرنا کسی ماں سے لال کو بانو کہاں تلاش. صلو علی النبی.
ایک صلوات پڑھ دے محمد و آل محمد. اللہم صلی علی. I think the topic tonight is going to be on Khaq-e Shifa. So I'm going to present my marsha on Khaq-e Shifa. اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات پڑھ دے محمد. اللہم صلی.
میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. بنت علی نے مجھ کو چادر بنا لیا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. اکبر جواں ہے قاسم غازی سے چاند تارے زین العبان میری آغوش میں اتارے یعنی لہو نبی کا مجھ میں ملا ہوا ہے. میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ زہرا کی بیٹیوں کے قدموں کو میں نے چوما، مظلوم بے وطن کے زخموں کو میں نے چوما، اس واسطے ہی میری تاثیر میں شفا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ روتی ہوں یاد کر کے وہ بے کسی کا منظر، مولا چھپا رہے تھے مجھ میں لاش اصغر، ارے اس دن سے آج تک نہ، ارے اس دن سے آج تک نہ مجھ کو سکون ملا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ اے زائرین مولا چلنا یہاں سنبھل کر، قرآن فاطمہ کا بکھرا ہوا ہے مجھ پر، نہ جانے کس جہاں پر کس کا لہو ملا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ توقیر تو بھی کر لے آلے آبا کا ماتم، جو شام میں گئی تھی اس بیردہ کا ماتم، ممنون ماتمی کی، ممنون ماتمی کی، مخدوم فاطمہ ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے۔ بنت علی نے مجھ کو، بنت علی نے مجھ کو چادر بنا لیا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں، رتبہ میرا جدا ہے، میں خاک کربلا ہوں رتبہ میرا جدا ہے. صلوات پڑھ دو محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Sayyid Mohammedhassan Alsheraa, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Al-Fatiha is requested for the Isal al-Sawab of Marhumeen listed on the screen, and for all Marhumeen, Al-Fatiha. Ayyama Yujib is requested for the names listed on the screen and for all those in need here and elsewhere. Let us recite together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibul muttarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. There will be a gents Q&A session with Sayyid Muhammad today after the regular Majlis program in the men's baraza area. Invitation is open to all men of all ages. There will be food on sale as well from Baraza town. Please look at the flyer on screen for more details and order in advance. The Zainabiyya program, we look forward to welcoming the whole entire Orlando community to join us tomorrow, the night of Arbaeen, Wednesday, October 7th, for a live program outside Masjid Hayy in the drive-in setup. If you have yet to make the journey to Karbala, or your heart is aching to see the generosity of Aba Abdullah alayhi salam once again, then be sure to visit us tomorrow at Masjid Hayy, where the number of muwaqibs will be serving the guests of Imam Hussain. From food to chai Abu Ali to medical checkups and souvenirs, it's all happening here at your back row. The event will start at 7:45 p.m., at which time niyaz will be distributed. The Ladies Zainabiyya program will conclude tomorrow, October 7th at 2:15 p.m. at the Masjid and online. Sister Tasneem Kirbani will be reciting the majlis. Hussain Day, we would like to continue to remember the legacy of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, but in light of the current circumstances, we will be commemorating Hussain Day 2020 in a different way. We will be adopting a Seminole County park for a year in the name of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We will be visiting the park on a quarterly basis, beginning on Sunday, October 18th, to clean and maintain the beauty and pristine condition for all to enjoy. The city will display a sign with our group name, Masjid Hayy, to the adopted park. We hope you and your family will join us in giving back to the greater community and experience all that is beautiful outdoors and nature and what nature has to provide. See you there, inshallah. Registration for Masjid Hayy Weekend Islamic School is now open. We are currently accepting enrollments for 2020-21 academic year for the following programs: children's programs grade K to 10, ages 5 onwards, and adults programs. Please check the weekly newsletter for details on all these programs. Finally, the Muharram Fund is still open. We encourage anyone who has not yet contributed to please do so. All and any amount is welcome. At this time, I would like to invite Sayyid Mohammedhassan Alsheraa to come up and recite tonight's majlis. Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى روحك وبدنك الطاهرة صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليكم جميعا يا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته أما بعد يقول الله في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ورفع أبويه على العرش وخروا له سجدا آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The turba of Imam Abi Abdullah al-Hussain, or the clay worshipping tablet, or the khake shifa, or the more, is seen as one of the most iconic elements within the Shia school of thought. There is no household from the lovers of Ahlul Bayt around the world except that you will find the turba of Sayyidul Shuhada there used to pray on. And as prevalent as this element is, and as all elements from the Shia school of thought, it is subject to defamation and ridicule left, right, and center. And unfortunately, the overwhelming majority are not able to substantiate the roots of such an act, why we prostrate on the turba. Accusations thrown our way of the like such as the Holy Prophet never did such a thing. And this is an innovation. And every innovation is doomed. Therefore, how can you do something that the Prophet never did? And therefore, it becomes vital and pertinent that we give a reply satisfactory, such that not only do we satisfy the one asking, we also garner enough confidence to understand why it is we do exactly why and what we do on a daily basis as loyal followers, lovers of Ahlul Bayt. Everyone has seen the turba. It's no secret that we honor, we venerate, we address with respect, we hold on to it like we hold on to the Holy Quran. We make sure that no one is interacting with it in an unbefitting, inappropriate manner. Where is all of this substantiated from? We address all of these misconceptions, inshallah, by addressing the biggest accusation, in that we are committing acts of shirk by prostrating and doing sujood on the turba. Now everyone knows, shirk is of the biggest of sins. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرِكَ بِهِ. God does not forgive the one who associates partners with Him. The reply to this is first get your accusations correct. What do you mean shirk? Where did you get association, partners with Allah by doing sujood on a turba? If you're going to accuse, at least make sure that your accusations are consistent, that there's a consistency with your accusations. Where did you find shirk in doing sujood on a turba? No one will tell you we are worshipping the Turbah. Some might hit back and reply, no, but you are worshipping Allah through the Turbah. Likewise, we worship Allah through facing the Kaaba. Where did you get shirk from? Many times, inflammatory, derogatory terms are thrown without any basis. And this is amongst the biggest of accusations, because shirk is a big deal in Islamic theology. Therefore, when one addresses you in that manner, at least have them realize, if you're going to accuse me of anything, get your argument consistent. Where did you get associating partners with Allah? Where did that come from? Moreover, when we look at the acts of prostrating and sujood, many might examine the lovers of Ahlul Bayt doing sujood to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Now they might show you the odd picture of a follower of Ahlul Bayt, a za'ir, one who has gone to ziyarah, doing sujood facing the shrine of the Imam. Now, there is no one who goes to ziyarah and does sujood to the Imam. Obviously, this is a petty excuse. Again, brought out of nowhere. No lover of Ahlul Bayt will tell you we worship the Imams. Then why do you do sujood facing them? First of all, this religion was built on having the glass half full. Why did you think he was worshipping the Imam? Why couldn't you assume that he or she was being thankful to Allah? There's a thing called sajdat al-shukr. Maybe that individual may not have heard of such an act, where you go down in prostration because you are thankful. Perhaps they came down in sujood because they are thankful that Allah has granted them the opportunity to visit the Imam again. Yeah, but why do you have to be facing the Imam? Let's say they weren't facing the Imam. Ultimately, they're going to be facing someone walking. Are we now worshipping them all of a sudden? These are petty excuses and arguments. The biggest reply to something like this is when we examine the surah in the Holy Quran, chapter 12, Surah Yusuf, ayah 100. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. Prophet Yusuf, after receiving his family, it's been over 40 years. Finally, he meets his mom and dad and all his siblings together in one roof. What did he do to them? He raised them to the throne. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. He raised his mom and dad to the throne. A gesture of humility, that no matter how high I am, what status I've reached, I always keep in mind my parents who helped bring me here. Sometimes many go far in life, but they forget that old man, that old lady, who through blood, sweat, and tears brought me where I am today. Prophet Yusuf, minister of agriculture, finally seeing his mom and dad, he's like, no, I'll get down from my throne. Mom, dad, you come over here. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. What did his mom and dad do? Something extremely, you have to admit, thought-provoking. وَخَرُّوا لَهُ سُجَّدًا. They did sujood to him. Now, some might look and say, well, they were his old parents. Maybe they weren't of the learned. Prophet Yaqub, not of the learned. Yaqub, son of Ishaq, son of Ibrahim, father of the Abrahamic religions today. Of course he was learned, so we can't bring that claim. So maybe they were doing sujood with him. No, it says, وَخَرُّوا لَهُ. They did sujood facing Yusuf. Sujjada. How do we address this? Sujood is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, Yusuf was in their way, but the sujood is a sajda to shukr. Many don't understand that sometimes. When you do sujood and when you see the Imam of Ahlul Bayt, or when you have the opportunity to go ziyarah, why do you drop down and face him? I'm not worshipping the Imam, for goodness sake. The Imam taught me to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's a sujood of gratification. And our maraji' have expressed that when one does sujood facing the haram, their intention must only be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there is an Adam's way that I'm doing sujood for the Imam, that is shirk at that moment. But no lover of Ahlul Bayt does sujood to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Whereas we recognize this was a blessing, I dropped down in prostration, recognizing that blessing. Abi Hamza al-Thumali, his name is Thabit. Abu Hamza al-Thumali, the man of the greatest of companions of Imam Zain al-Abidin, and named after the very powerful dua that we all love to recite, dua Abi Hamza. History books record to us the moment he met Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And when he saw the Imam, he met him in Kufa. He saw Imam praying. He didn't know who he was. And he was a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, he was a Shi'i. And he wanted to see and inquire who this man is. for he has the signs of nobility, prophethood, and spirituality all around him. He came to the Imam, he saw someone standing by Imam Zain al-Abidin. Abi Hamza wants to know who this man is. So he asks the guy standing, because Imam is busy praying. He says, who is this man praying? What's his name? The man says, how do you not know Ali, son of Hussain, son of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Abi Hamza Thumali did something really interesting. When Imam Zain al-Abidin finished his prayer, Abi Hamza dropped down to his feet in a prostration-like manner. Because again, having that cup half full mentality, being an optimistic person here, he came down in sujood to the Imam's feet. Imam Zain al-Abidin lifted him. He said, no. إِنَّمَا السُّجُودُ لِلَّهِ رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Only. Sujood, prostration is only for Allah. Now one may look at this and be like, Abi Hamza, how dare he do sujood to the Imam? Again, how do we know that he wasn't grateful to see the Imam and he just wanted to kiss his feet? And Imam Zain al-Abidin does not want to give those around him the impression that he is worshipping Imam alayhi salam. So he raised them and he made the claim very clear, إِنَّمَا السُّجُودُ لِلَّهِ. Now, we are not obligated to do sujood on the turbah. These accusations set to the side. They're petty anyhow. Let's examine and substantiate the act that we are always doing, inshallah ta'ala, more than 5 times a day. When we do sujood on the turbah, it is not an obligation only the turbah we do sujood on, as many might claim. The turbah is a preference, exactly, that we prefer to do sujood on the turbah, but we don't have to. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq gave us a wonderful principle, stating that you are only to do sujood on that which cannot be worn, nor that which is eaten. Additional traditions include, do not do sujood on specific minerals, such as gold and silver. One man asked Imam al-Sadiq, why do you preach to your people, never do sujood on that which is worn, wearable, nor that which is edible? So I can't do sujood on carpet because it's cotton, and men and women wear that. And I can't do sujood on certain leaves which are edible, let's say. So why do you limit and preach to your followers, O Sadiq al-Muhammad, this individual asking the 6th Imam, that you can only do sujood on that which isn't edible and which isn't wearable, and gold and silver? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam gave the most beautiful philosophical reply you will ever hear to this question. He said, because these things are considered alihatu abidu dunya. These are the gods of the slaves of this world. The biggest industries in the world. Fashion, food. Everyone worships what you wear. And everyone worships what you eat. And people definitely worship the gold and they worship the silver. As Amir al-Mu'mineen once said, Deenahum dananirahum. That their religion is their dinar. Their deen is their wealth. That's all they care about ultimately. Some individuals. Imam al-Sadiq said, because these are practically worshipped in this world, considered like deities, Allah has made it forbidden for any one of us, Ahlul Bayt, to do sujood on such things. Now, where did the turbah come from? Okay, we can only do sujood on that which isn't edible. That which we cannot wear. And silver and gold. Okay, but where did the turbah come from? Many might assume that the turbah originated from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And indeed, salamullahi ala sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. That after the events of Ashura, Imam, before returning back to Medina, collected from the soil of Karbala, and he took that with him, and that's where the turbah was introduced. No, that's not quite accurate. The turbah of Imam al-Hussain was introduced by none other than Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin. Rasulullah, he introduced the world the turbah of Hussain. We find, of course, a plethora of references in our sources. But the accusations and ridicule doesn't come from our side. It comes from those of the other side who see us as their adversaries. So instead of proving from our end where we substantiate praying on the turbah, by all means, let's prove from your end. In al-Mustadrak ala al-Sahihain of al-Hakim al-Nayshaburi, al-Mustadrak ala al-Sahihain is the addition upon the Sahih sources, the canonized two texts, Muslim and Bukhari, the two most reliable sources from the other schools of thought, definitely. Al-Mustadrak means the addition, the ahadith that were not added, but they are considered acceptable on the criteria of these two scholars, because the same narrators are found in these other ahadith, but for some reason they didn't add them into their canonized text. Al-Hakim al-Nayshaburi mentions in his Al-Mustadrak ala Sahihain a very interesting hadith, that one night, Lady Salama, al-Mu'mineen, saw the Holy Prophet of Islam sleeping, and suddenly he wakes up, very shaky and nervous looking. Then Rasulullah tried to go back to sleep. He went back to sleep, and then moments later he woke up again, very shaky and very afraid. Fear enveloped his holy face. Then he went back to sleep again. Salama left him. When she returned, she found him awake a third time, but this time holding something in his hand. And she said to him, Ya Rasulullah, what's in your hand? What's happening? What's going on? The Prophet replied, I had a dream that Jibreel informed me. The prophets of God, their dreams are messages to them. Unlike us, our dreams are sometimes nonsense, most of the times probably, but the prophets, their dreams is a form of connection to Allah. So they either receive that wahi in their heart, or the angel directly approaches, or they have the dream, like Ibrahim alayhi salam. This time Rasulullah had this dream, and Jibreel informed him that your grandson Hussain will be martyred by your community in the faraway land of Iraq, far relative to Medina. And when he will be martyred, he will not have any supporters, Rasulullah. Rasulullah, when he woke, he requested from Jibreel, the angel, can I at least see and have some of that soil from the land of Iraq, which he will be killed on? And so Jibreel brought to him the soil, the dirt where Sayyid al-Shuhada would be killed on. He has not died yet, Imam Hussain, but because he is set to be martyred on that land, the land is already blessed. And so Rasulullah was given the dirt from Karbala, and he showed it to Salama. And Rasulullah held on to it. He was the first to introduce to the world the turba of Imam al-Hussain. If Rasulullah didn't care about the turba of Karbala, why would he say, give me it, I want it? Why would he honor it that way? The next time anyone asks you, why do you honor the turba? Say, wait a minute, Sunnah of the Holy Prophet. Like he honors the land of Karbala, we honor the land of Karbala. And when did he honor it? Before Abu Abdullah was martyred on it, he wanted to get close to it. Now imagine after Sayyid al-Shuhada was already martyred and his blessed body is buried there. That land that is blessed with the body of Hussain and his companions is indeed a blessed land. The second tradition found in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal, the Imam of the Hanbali school of thought, Salama, by the way, a champion of the turba of Sayyid al-Shuhada. A majority of the traditions of the turba come from her in the life of the Holy Prophet. Salama, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayha, she was received by the Holy Prophet again. But this time he gave her a container, like a jar, filled in it the soil from Karbala. And he said to her, Lady Salama, know that when the soil turns to blood, that will be the day my grandson Hussain will be killed. And Salama took hold of this. And when Sayyid al-Shuhada was martyred, she looked at the container, it was filled with blood. And she held on to that container filled with the soil of Karbala. And she made sure to honor it and watch over it, and had reverence to it. Why? Eventually our master will be killed on that land. We continue with this, and we find that, okay, if the Holy Prophet of Islam honored the turba of Sayyid al-Shuhada, what did he pray on? Very good question. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam pray on? Was it a turba from Karbala, or was it something else? Rasulullah, being the prime example to the Muslim Ummah, displays to us what we can and cannot do. And he would be the greatest example in these scenarios. So for example, Rasulullah would try to break social taboos such as marrying a widow, for example, of which at the time it was a taboo. How do you marry a widow? Her husband died, so why would you marry her? She's cursed probably. Rasulullah would say, no, there's nothing wrong with that. They still wouldn't do it, so he would then marry a widow, for example, like Salama, she was a widow, to break that social taboo. Or a lady from a bad family. It's not her fault if she's related to that family. Say, for example, the daughter of Abu Sufyan. The apple, they're from the one tree, a bad tree, you can have one good apple. Who cares? It's not her fault. So Rasulullah would be the prime example. Likewise, in this situation, Rasulullah shows us what we can do sujood on, and the variety of options that we have. The first thing Rasulullah would do sujood on was turab, dirt. This is mahal ijma' between every school of thought, consensus. Rasulullah would do sujood on dirt. In Al-Ighathatul Lahfan of Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, the student of Ibn Taymiyyah, Shaykh al-Islam of the other school of thought, he mentions that Rasulullah, whenever he would raise his head from sujood, there would always be dirt on his blessed forehead and his nose. Every time we look at him, there would always be the marks of dirt on the nose of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his blessed forehead. The Masjid al-Nabawi, you can't build it on something that is not a strong foundation to be built on. So it wasn't sand, it was a mix of dirt and some sand here and there. So when they built Masjid al-Nabawi, the mosque of the Holy Prophet, Rasulullah would be constantly seen doing sujood on that ground. And he gave us two beautiful principles to follow. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray like how you see me pray. We see Prophet praying on dirt. That is something we can pray on now. And he gave us another prime example and principle. جُعِلَتْ لِيَ الْأَرْضُ مَسْجَدًا وَطَهُورًا. The hadith of that the earth has been made for me a place of sujood. Masjadan, not masjidan. Masjid is this blessed area. We have a mosque. A masjid is an area to do sujood on. It says the earth, the ard. Anything from the earth that is natural, with the conditions as we mentioned, cannot be worn, cannot be eaten, that is a masjid for me. I can do sujood on it. And watahura, it's a form of purification for me. And that the Holy Prophet of Islam would teach us about tayammum, and that we could use from the earth to purify ourselves in the absence of water. And so the first thing we notice Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam doing sujood on was dirt, brothers and sisters. The second thing was called al-hasba. Hasba is what? Another name, al-hasa. They are not sand, nor are they large stones, pebbles, medium-sized pebbles. In Sunan Abu Dawood, Ibn Umar is asked, when did the mosque of Rasulullah go from dirt to hasba? Hasba, as we mentioned, the hasa. All of a sudden, the mosque of the Prophet, the floor of it was dirt. Then it changed, somehow it became all stones, like these medium-sized stones, that when you look at jamarat in Hajj, inshallah we are able to go, when you collect the pebbles, they're not small granule size, nor are they large, they're a small, medium-sized stone that you use to cast. It was filled with that. When did this change happen? Ibn Umar was asked. He replied, one day we came to pray in the mosque of the Holy Prophet, and it rained. It rained so heavily that we just couldn't do sujood on the mud. So what did we do? Every person began individually taking these hasba, the stones, the hasa, taking each of them, putting it in our pockets. Listen to this and compare the turba. We took a stone with us in our pockets, and when we went to pray, we would place the stone on the ground and pray on that. What's the difference between taking a turba now and taking a random stone? We said we would take the hasa and we would go to the Masjid of the Prophet, because we're not going to put our heads on the mud. It rained heavily. So they collected all of these stones and they laid them out and they did sujood on that. When Rasulullah finished his prayer, he turned, according to this tradition, and said, "Ma ahsana hadha." What a blessed act this was. How good of an act this is. When Rasulullah says how good of an act this was, you bring your own stone to pray on. Compare, what are we doing when we pray? What are we doing when we pray? Is it not convenient to carry something with you and pray, than to go and pray on the floor? There's nothing wrong with praying on the floor outside. There's nothing wrong. There is no, as we mentioned, an obligation upon all of us to only pray on this, the mohr or the turba from Karbala. Many of us have prayed outdoors, prayed here, prayed in, let's say I go to Michigan and I pray outside there. There's nothing wrong with that. In Iraq, Florida, there's no preference on the earth to pray on except the earth that surrounds the holy body of Sayyidu Shuhada, definitely. And so Rasulullah would only be seen praying on dirt. Then these stones, these large pebbles, hasba as well. He also would pray on what is referred to as a hasira. A hasira is like bamboo but folded into a mat. So there were reeds by the lake. They would take these reeds and they would make a mat with it. Natural from the earth, not edible, and you can't wear it. And so this would be very convenient to prevent one from getting dirty, for example. And he would do sujood on a hasira. Therefore we said dirt, we said the stones, the hasa, the hasira, and then he would also do sujood on something that is known as al-khumra, the spade of a palm tree. The branches that follow and envelope the palm tree from the top parts of the tree, you find them very thick. And Rasulullah would take from this, called a khumra, because the threads of this are hidden. Anything that has the word khamar in it, meaning it's hidden. Khimar, that which covers. Khamar covers your intellect when one engages in that act. La samahallah. Al-khumra is the spade that envelops the tree, the palm tree specifically, from the top. It's a large chunk of wood that you can rip out and you can do sujood on. It's called that because the threads of it are hidden, hence khamar, khumra in that term. And Rasulullah would do sujood on this. Therefore we find the Holy Prophet doing sujood on these areas. When did the issue of carpets come into place? 300 years after Masjid al-Nabawi was built, did they introduce carpets. Banu al-Abbas introduced carpets in the mosque of the Prophet. Now, if the Prophet said, pray like how you see me pray, then wouldn't Rasulullah have given us this example? But he didn't. Other traditions recognize that one day it was extremely hot, and it was difficult to do sujood on the floor, the hasba, the dirt. It was very hard to put our heads on the floor. And so one of us, the tradition indicates, would take the shoulder sleeve, would take the sleeves from our clothes, and when we prostrate, we make sure we rest our forehead on that, hoping it was okay. Rasulullah said, don't do it. No, you are not allowed to put. Why? Because it's wearable, you're wearing it. You cannot do sujood on it, even if the ground is too hot. Now, if it's unbearable, then that's an excuse, obviously, unbearable. But if you can manage, out of discomfort, however, you decided to do sujood on the shirt or the long sleeve, then that would not be accepted. And Rasulullah didn't allow them, even though there were carpets at the time. It's not like carpets were invented 300 years later. No, but Rasulullah never introduced them. Is this not an indication? Therefore, what would they then do, the Ahlul Bayt, during the time of the Prophet? What exactly would they do sujood on? Because they are our examples as to what is considered best conduct. Is it doing sujood on dirt like that? Is it on the hasira, just the reed mat? Or is it stones? Or is it that khumra? What do we do sujood on? What's better? Ahlul Bayt, previous to the martyrdom of Sayyidu Shuhada, would do sujood on the earth that surrounded the grave of the other Sayyidu Shuhada. Who? Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib. The grave of Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet, was a special location for Al-Muhammad. Why? Lady Zahra salamullahi alayha would collect from the dirt and make it into a sibha. The dirt she would take and make it into tasbih that she can use. And they would collect from that soil and do sujood on this. You notice the patterns. You do sujood on the one who gave his way to Allah. Sayyidu Shuhada Hamza, Sayyidu Shuhada Abi Abdullah. And they would collect dirt as such, and they would go back to where they need to be, and they would prostrate on that. Now, it is quite, for many, inconvenient to just take all that dirt and fold it into, like say, a cloth carrier or a bag, and then whenever you need to pray, you open that bag up, and you do sujood on that. Messy, one can imagine. Then how did this come to place? Where did this happen? Who then introduced to us the Turbah? Imam Zainul Abidin, alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Imam Zainul Abidin, peace and blessings be upon him and his family. After the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam collected from the grave, or what surrounded the grave of Imam alayhi salam, and he went back home with it. He collected this dirt, and whenever he would go to pray, he stored it in a mat. He would open the mat and he would do sujood on the earth of Karbala. They ask you, why Karbala the preference if it's any dirt? Imam did it alayhi salam, the sunnah of my Imam. Then why do we never do sujood on the carpet? I mean, obviously, given the traditions, it can be worn, it's made from cotton. In Majmu' Fatawa, the collection of fatwas and decrees by Ibn Taymiyyah, a staunch enemy of any Shi'i out there, he has in his collection. Ibn Taymiyyah mentions that one day, a man by the name of Abdul Rahman bin Mahdi, Abdul Rahman bin Mahdi entered the mosque of the Holy Prophet. And when he entered the mosque of the Holy Prophet, this was about 100 years or so after the death of Rasulullah. Abdul Rahman bin Mahdi got a sajjada, the prayer mat, and he opened it and he began to pray on the prayer mat. Malik bin Anas, many are familiar with, the Imam of the Maliki school of thought, he was present. Malik bin Anas, when he saw that happen, again, an Imam for the other side definitely, what did he do? Did he tell them, don't do that, this wasn't from the sunnah of the Prophet, which obviously it wasn't. What did he do? He said, arrest him. Arrest him. He did a bid'ah, he innovated in the mosque of Rasulullah, put him behind bars. Arrest him for praying on a prayer mat. Okay, what's 3/4 of the Muslim world doing now? Then don't blame us for honoring the Turbah of Sayyid al-Shuhada. For our Imam showed us, taught us, educated us, and enlightened us. When we look at Rasulullah, one day he was making his way to Thamud, the incident of Salih and the camel of Salih, the land known as Thamud. When he got to Thamud, Rasulullah, probably going to the event of Tabuk, one can imagine, let's say, north of Medina, Rasulullah went and he made it to Thamud, where the incident, as mentioned, the event of the camel of Salih, and where it was killed. His companions were extremely thirsty, and so they went to a well that they had found. When they found this well, they began to fill all of the buckets and containers with water. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he saw all of their containers filled with water, he said to them, put all that water back, put all that back. They said, Rasulullah, it took us forever to get the water out. Hadith is found in Sahih al-Bukhari also. They said, it took us forever. Why put it all back? He says, because there's a well right next to it. You guys should have used that water from that well. They said, why? What's the difference? This well, that well, it's just the same water. Rasulullah said, no. This one has no significance. The other one is where the she-camel of Salih 3,000 years ago drank from. What is Rasulullah trying to teach us here? That the camel of Salih, what is it called in the Quran? An ayah from the ayat of Allah. It's a sign from God. It's blessed. It's a mu'jiza. It's a miracle. It drank from this well. So the well is now blessed. I want you to collect water from that which is blessed only. Why? Because the earth, the water in that region, had the honor of having the she-camel of Salih drink from it. Okay, then what about the earth that drank the blood of Hussain in Karbala? If the earth that had the she-camel of Salih became blessed because a camel drank from that water, and Rasulullah is teaching us, drink from the water that the sign of Allah drank from, then what about the earth that drank the blood of Hussain and his family? How blessed would that earth be? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says Imam Hussain was given 3 things. The first, the dua under his dome is mustajab. You go to Karbala, inshallah, under the dome of Sayyid al-Shuhada, make your dua, it'll be accepted, tuqda inshallah. The second that Sayyid al-Shuhada was given is that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt are all from his dhurriyyah. And the third that was given only to Sayyid al-Shuhada, وَجَعَلَ الشِّفَاءَ فِي تُرْبَتِهِ. And that shifa and curing and healing is in his turba. We take our health from the turba of Hussain, and we take our faith through the turba of Hussain. As we have seen that the turba of Hussain has caused many interesting things to occur. One may see themselves feeling unwell, and the traditions indicate it is recommended to take a small piece from the turba, put it into a container of water and drink that. Imam said to us, he brought shifa, Allah shifa, cure, healing in the grave, surrounding the grave, the earth of Imam Abi Abdullah, salamullahi alayh. And the Imam, peace and blessings be upon him, how often would he do sujood? And how often would he pray on the open and pray on the floor and on the ground? His father taught him that, for he is Aba Turab, the father of dirt, the father of soil. And you find Amir al-Mu'mineen taught this to his children. Aba Abdullah would constantly be seen praying on the 10th of Ashura. He would be doing prayer more and more. People would think that he is too busy to pray than he is to fight. And he would ask the adversaries, give me one more night. Why? On the 9th of Muharram. Why? So we can pray more. That blessed head, which only does sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that head, when it reached Sham, brothers and sisters, there was the young daughter of Hussain alayhi salam. She would ask, where is my father? And where is he? Where did he go? And why did he leave us? Sayyida Ruqayya. In fact, she would constantly request, I want my father. Where is my father? Until Yazid, la'natullahi alayh, inquired, what is this noise? Someone keeps crying. Who is that? Until the person told Yazid, this is the child of Hussain. She is asking for her father to return, and she wants to see him one more time. Yazid then said, then let her see her father. And they brought the holy head of Sayyid al-Shuhada to the cell where they were held. And Ruqayya, salamullahi alayha, began to say, why did they bring me food? Oh my beloved auntie, I am not hungry. And then she said, this is not for food. We are not to eat at this moment, until they remove the cover from the head of Aba Abdullah. And then Ruqayya looked at her father one last final time, saying the following line, Aba, man alladhi qata'a ra'sak? Father, Father, who was the one that removed your head? Aba, man alladhi khaddaba lihyatak? Oh Father, who was the one that drenched your beard with blood? Aba, man alladhi aytamani fi sighri sinni? Oh Father, Father, who was the one that made me an orphan in my young age? Until silence came in Sham. No one could hear her cries anymore. And then Imam Zainul Abidin came to Lady Zainab, saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Oh my beloved auntie, Ruqayya has now left us and returned back to her father, Abi Abdullah. When the nurse came to take Lady Ruqayya to wash her beloved blessed body, she came back to Sayyida Zainab, and she said to her, I cannot wash this body. Zainab said, why? Because she is very ill. Sayyida Zainab says, she wasn't ill before she died. What do you mean? The lady then said, what are these blue marks on her body? Sayyida Zainab replied, those are not the marks of an illness, rather they are the marks of the whips of Shimr bin Dhul Joshan. These are the bruises of the spears they lunged at us on our way. These are the marks of what we had to go through on that day. Inna lillah وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون فرج عنا يا Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you on Sayyida Ruqayyah to grant us all of our hajat on this night. Oh Allah, we ask you on the Arba'iniyah of Aba Abdullah to cure all of our sick ones, brothers and sisters. There has been a request to recite أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ for the speedy recovery of all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat, particularly our dear respected brother Sajjad Ja'far from New York. May Allah heal him and grant him a swifty recovery, inshaAllah ta'ala. Inshallah, we will recite the ayat 5 times for all the mu'mineen and mu'minat بإذن الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم اكشف السوء والبلاء عنا يا الله اللهم المرضى المنظورين شافي وعافهم يا الله. Oh Allah, we ask you on this blessed night to heal all of our sick ones. Oh Allah, we ask you to grant us the ziyarah of Sayyidul Shuhada. Oh Allah, we ask you to grant us the shafa'ah of Abi Abdullah, and for the well-being and healing of all of our brothers and sisters. Let us recite a Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha, especially on the soul of our late Abdul Hussain Ja'far, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh. But before it, the loudest of your salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Bismillah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مأتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.
لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب الوداع ہے شہید و مسافر الوداع ہے شہید لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زین الوداع ہے شہیدوں الوداع ہے وعدے بننے کے بائی تمہارے بازو بندے رسن سے ہمارے تازیان بیادان مارے الوداع ہے شہید مسافر الوداع ہے شہیدوں لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب الوداع ہے شہید الوداع ہے شہید آئے رکنے دن کے ستارے پھیرا خنجر گلے پہ تمہارے سر سے چادر اتاری ہماری الوداع شہیدوں مسافر الوداع ہے شہید لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب، لاش سرور پہ کہتی تھی زینب، الوداع ہے شہید و مسافر، الوداع ہے قبر نانا پہ جا کر میں دکھیا، حال اپنے کہوں گی میں سارا، تم بھی کہہ دو تمہارا کہوں کیا، الوداع ہے شہید مسافر، الوداع ہے شہید و مسافر، اسے سر لاش سر الوداع ہے شہید و مسافر، الوداع ہے شہید و پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی میں، پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی میں، آئی نشم میں منہ پہ اداسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی میں، پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، حال سے ظاہر درد و ملت، کرب و بلا میں پوری شرکت، نشر شہادت تیری بدولت شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، بیٹوں کی دولت حق پہ لٹا دی، لب نہ ہلایا دنیا ہلائی، صبر کی ملکہ غم کی گزاری شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، ساری کمائی دشت میں کھو کر، پیاروں کو رو کر بھائی کو رو کر، کھاتی ہوئی ہر غم پہ ٹھوکر شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی میں، پیاری نبی کی پیاری نواسی شام کو قیدی بن کے چلی، فاتحہ۔
یا حسین، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا، دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، قبر پہ شبیر کی کرتے تھے عابد بکا، ہو گئی کیا کیا جفا سنیے شہ کربلا، سر پہ کسی کے نہ تھی چادر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا، دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، ایک رسن میں بندھے چھوٹے بڑوں کے گلے، برسر دربار سب اس طرح لائے گئے، کوٹھوں سے برساتے تھے پتھر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کے بازار میں مجمع کفار میں ایک تماشا سا تھا آل ستمگار میں، ایسے میں ماں بہن کھلے سر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، توک سے ہرگز نہ تھا بابا میرا سر جھکا، ہتھ کری اور بیری کا کوئی مجھے غم نہ تھا، دیکھا نہیں جاتا تھا منظر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، بالی سکینہ کا غم دل یہ نہیں بھولتا، سب کے تھے شانے بندھے اس کا بندھا تھا گلا، درد سے وہ روتی تھی مستر، یاد جب آ جاتا ہے بابا دل میرا پھٹ جاتا ہے بابا، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر، کوفے کا اور شام کا منظر۔ سورۃ مبارک الفاتحہ۔
صلی اللہ علیہ ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکم ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم ابن امیر المومنین ابن سید الوسیین، السلام علیکم ابن فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علیکم مولا ابن مولا، السلام علیکم یا غریب الغرباء، السلام علیکم سلطان ابو الحسن علی ابن موسیٰ الرضا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علیکم صاحب الزمان، السلام علیکم خلیفۃ الرحمن، السلام علیکم شریک القرآن، السلام علیکم کعبۃ الایمان، السلام علیکم یا اہل بیت النبوہ جمیعا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ الفاتحہ مع الصلوات۔